Everything is experimental.
An intriguing experiment.
Cats are dicks. Who, me? Meat is meaty.
Wait.
This week, cat food and cold cuts. Oh, what a treat for you.
Lucky.
Quite a special ride this week, and I really appreciate you hanging in there. If you hung in there, maybe you had your fingers in the dashboard of the vehicle that I sent down your street. Or maybe you just jumped out of the way last minute to avoid the crash. What am I talking about this week? Cat food and cold cuts. Stream of consciousness, baby. Out. Ideas, words, a list, a thought, a poem, a song. Cat food and cold cuts. Is this stream of consciousness? To some degree. This week's post was called
A Song for Cleanup on Aisle 5.
It was an example of an idea coming from nothing, flashing hot in the pan of something before evaporating and becoming nothing again. Well, nothing but what it is, which is an experiment, which is something full circle. Cat food and cold cuts. And the two things I want to cover off on are inspiration, where did this idea come from, and style. Part 1, inspiration. The phrase, cat food and cold cuts. Odd, isn't it?
You have a lot of explaining to do.
Well, technically, I don't, actually. It's a piece of art.
It's art.
And I'm just putting it out into the world, and it's open to the interpretation of the world, and I don't need to explain anything to you. But then that would kind of defeat the purpose of this whole channel and exercise and newsletter, because I'm just trying to show you creative process, my creative process, which, is what it is. Maybe there's nothing in this for you, and maybe there's something in this for you. What is in it for me? But I'm drifting away. I got to keep on track. First, let me read to you an excerpt from the post, and then I'll give a super high-level explanation thematically of what's going on and
a lot of explaining to do.
These are the first two sections of the list. I shall now perform a dramatic reading for you. Cat food and cold cuts. Add to the list. Don't ask why. Only these two, additional, must you add. 2 and 2. Extra items. Write them down. Consciousness margin scribble, psychic paper scraps, smudged palm reader inks, mental post-its. Do not forget.
Gibberish, all gibberish.
I can feel through the screen that you have questions. Why cat food? Why cold cuts? Is this a shopping list? It's a weird shopping list. Why would I want to add those two things? I don't even have a cat. I admire your cat-like curiosity. Let's get into it. First, let's talk cat food and cold cuts. It's an odd phrase. Cat food and cold cuts was a real thing. It was a conversation I overheard once in a Starbucks in
New York City.
That's in America. In Manhattan. Probably around 2005. I heard the conversation behind me. It was a guy in line talking on probably a flip phone.
My flip phone is blowing up with opportunities.
Was obviously being given a shopping list by the person on the other end of things he had to pick up on the way home. Cat food and cold cuts. Now, I don't know why I was so tickled by that phrase. Probably the alliteration. I was so tickled by it, I immediately wrote it down, but it didn't stop there. I bought the URL. Kind of think it might have been while I was still sitting there in that coffee shop. Weird, I know, but I was so enamoured with it. Cat food and cold cuts. That could be the name of a book, the name of an album, the name of an off-Broadway show. It just screamed potential to me. Cat food and cold cuts in flashing neon Times Square. You've got to think big, people. That's big thoughts, not thinking of big people.
I don't even exercise.
I thought, I'm going to do something with that one day, and then proceeded to do nothing with that until this week. First problem, what do cat food and cold cuts represent within the scope of humanity? If you think of who you are as being a composition that's in a constant state of being composed, written, then the song or the melody of you is made up of these disparate parts, and you need to get those parts. Anyway, let me read to you this part of the piece. Your life melody, opus, arrangement, score needs more ingredients. cat food and cold cuts. More movements, more notes, essential lines, critical verses, a middle eight, a chorus. Now, when I use the word ingredients, it could be like outside influences, relationships with people. But if we think of those as things that come from supermarket shelves, grocery lists, your character is built from those ingredients. Your pantry and your refrigerator is already filled with healthy vegetables and proteins and just all the intellectual sustenance that you would possibly need to function in the world, minus what cat food and cold cuts represent to the human psyche, she said, confidently, pretending like this is a real thing.
It's not real.
The cat food would be not for eating. You're not supposed to eat actual cat food. That's for cats. Also, you shouldn't eat the cold cuts that I'm talking about. The metaphorical cold cuts. Don't take me too literally for this. But anyway.
It's a metaphor.
The cat food is for the spiritus el gato. The spirit of cat.
Diablo gato.
Now, why would you want spirit of cat? What's so great about cats? I started this off by saying cats were dicks. Exactly. Cats are dicks. You need to be a bit dickish from time to time. Cat food for sass, cold cuts for salt. Let's talk about the sass. Spiritus el gato. If you've ever owned a cat, or known a cat, or lived next door to a cat, you know that cats don't give a fuck. And as people, we could all learn to give less meow, to be more like cat, to let insult and criticism wash off us, to just ignore. So they have that side of them, but they can also be extremely playful, silly, jump around.
I came to get down.
They can be sleepy and cuddly and aggressive. They're very confident in who they are and what they consider to be their place in the world. I wish I was a cat. And then time means nothing to cats. They are on their own schedule. What do I mean by that? Let me once again read from the piece this week. Cat philosophy. Only here. Only now. Meow of meow. That is all. Cat is cat. Be like a cat. They hunt, they play, they sleep, they live in it, in the now, the meow of the meow. I admire the heck out of cats, and I also kind of sometimes desperately want them to love me. Now, cold cuts, on the other hand, cat food for the sass, we just talked about that, cold cuts for the salt. Let me explain. So, as a human being, you need salt, but I would also say you need saltiness. You need to be salty.
So salty.
You need to pick your moment and stand up for yourself. Cold cuts are for the salt of life, for defending yourself against injustice. Where cats were having confidence in yourself, cold cuts is having confidence in the moment, for preserving honour and value. Yes, cold cuts. You had no idea, did you? When I was a kid, Devon, which I'm guessing was a Antipodean delicacy that you've probably never heard of, probably the equivalent of bologna? I don't know.
My bologna.
Was like, came in a sausage knob. And for this Gen X kid, it was like one of the staples of the lunchbox sandwich that Mum would pack, Devon sandwich, because, you know, Mum's on a budget. Why am I talking about Devon? My point being that cold cuts represent value. That's always good thing to be, valuable. Cold cuts work well with others.
Team players wanted.
All your condiments, mustards, sauces, mayos, salts, peppers, salad items, all kinds of breads. They have a pretty limited shelf life, so they know not to overstay their welcome. Some of y'all could learn to do that.
I'll see myself out.
They also can save the day. If you're in a pinch for what you're going to eat, get some cold cuts for a sandwich. You're golden, golden. Not all heroes wear capes. Some of them wear nitrates. I just made that up right then. You're welcome. Nitrates are not a good thing though, right? I mean, you get it. That's why those 2 items are on your how to be a well-rounded human shopping list. Cat food to channel the sass of the cat, the sasser cat, to be playful, nimble, and don't give a meow. Your own animal. Cold cuts for the saltiness
Salty. So salty.
of preserved delicatessen fare. Confident and flavourful and be capable of being the hero we all deserve in a pinch. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what stream of consciousness got us to this week. You're stunned, I can tell. Okay, what is the structure of this post? Is it a song? Is it a poem? Rubbish? All these things. Part 2, style. I don't got no style, obviously.
No style.
But when it comes to writing, I like to mix it up a bit, try on a lot of different style coats. So now I'm going to give a little insight into why it's called
A Song for Clean Up on Aisle 5.
and how it ended up being a poem. Because it did not start off as a poem. It was your regular paragraph, and then another paragraph, and then another paragraph. And then I went, bing! It's a story about a shopping list, so it should probably read like a list. I went back, I thought, okay, I'm turning this whole thing into a shopping list, which is actually going to be in a poem format that doesn't follow any classic poem structure, so it's more stream of consciousness, free verse, as they say. That's how we ended up where we ended up today. But it's not a song, you're saying? No, but at one point, I actually thought I should write a song called Cat Food and Cold Cuts. And I started to do that. And as some of you know, one of my long-term goals is that I want to write a song. So I thought perhaps one of the things that's stopping me starting is that I always want it to be so serious. A song needs to be serious. It should be a silly song.
You think that people would have had enough of a silly love song?
Cat Food and Cold Cuts. It'll be a joke song. It'll be a country song. It'll be a love song. A love gone wrong song. And then I thought, there's no way, even if you get the lyrics done, there's no way you can get a song done by the time this post comes out. New post every week, guys. I don't have time. And so I stopped. I stopped writing the song. Janine, what did you, do you want to share any of that song with us? No, I'm not going to sing it. But here's 2 choruses that I just banged out. Chorus. Cat food and cold cuts. It's all come down to this. A summation of our love in some shitty grocery list. I would change that grocery. Let me just fix that. That should be shopping, obviously. That fits better. Start that again. Cat food and cold cuts. It's all come down to this. A summation of our love in some shitty shopping list. Cat food and cold cuts. No other way to be. Anything but vicious in this checkout of debris. Like I said, those are 2 choruses. Can you imagine the intensity of the verses that would be between those?
More intensity.
Would be heart-wrenching. I think what we have here is a project. I'm going to pick up that guitar. I'm going to tune it. I'm going to get further than I normally do with the pain. I'm going to take the 5 chords that I've learned, and I'm going to make Cat Food and Cold Cuts the song country music deserves.
Is that a threat?
This I pledge to you. Signing off, I salute thee. Thanks for taking this stream of consciousness journey with me. I know it can be challenging at times, but I appreciate you being on the journey. Sass and salt, cat food and cold cuts. Add them to the list. Bye. I throw these things over the wall and I don't know if it crushes someone on the other side. That's possible.